Hello everyone, this is Clayton Vance with Timeless Homes. Just want to go through a couple things today about traditional architecture and the reservations that people feel when they are looking at doing traditional architecture at the preliminary design phases. Because in the modeling that we use today, if you're looking at kind of this schematic design kind of general massing model, it's interesting because we have this this kind of knee-jerk reaction when things are too simple, because we've seen examples of traditional architecture, so-called, of stuff that was done in the 80s or 90s or within the last decade that is done so bad and used such bad materials, the details are so wrong that we're like, let's not go that direction, because most traditional architecture, when you look at it, is just a box with a triangle on top. And that can be incredibly uninteresting until you actually put the details on it. And that's where it just becomes so personal and so alive and so rich that we just need to just look at things. And I just want to tell everyone, don't be afraid of this type of thing. So I'm going to draw you two things real quick. One is a box with a triangle on the top of it. Now the other one is a small box and another gable, and then it goes up and then it comes back down and back down and down again. And this is our typical standard McMansion. Maybe we have an arch here and this little thing, and then maybe another bay here and the dormer here. And so which one is more visually interesting if we look at these two things? Most people, if I had no more detail than this, most people would be very, very hesitant to select the box with a prism on the top, a box with a triangle, because it just doesn't carry that so-called visual interest. So in traditional architecture, where does the visual interest come in to play? It's in all of the details. It's in the order, the rhythm, and all of the details, and what you begin to add, and how all of these windows begin to align and relate to each other. And without the details, traditional architecture, traditional forms end up being absolutely terrible. With traditional details, it's the most timeless architecture you can come up with. So recently I was doing a project where I was presenting 3 different designs to a client, and one was a standard 5-bay colonial, another one was a lower, I'd call it a poor man's colonial, because it didn't have 2 stories, it only had 1 story with some dormers, and then the other one was something a little more Tudor-ish. And the one with the Tudor one definitely had more interesting roof lines. In terms of, if we just looking at straight volumes, it's more interesting, but in the end, you end up putting not as many details on, because the volumes take care of the interest, even though you could put more details on in the materials and how the materials are applied. Like I'm talking about brick, if you actually do patterns within the brick. But all of these things have to be done in proportion to each other and well composed. So if it's just a box, people have real issues with it. I want to show you just a couple pictures real fast of just boxes. Here is a box with a prism, but pretty beautiful. And it's attached to another box with a prism. And you can tell which one has a little more visual hierarchy than the other one based on the overall ornamentation and the detail. And so the trim is the ornamentation and the detail. Let me just show you another one. A box with a prism on it. Fascinating. And if you look to the right versus the left, that right one is a modern building versus the one that we're looking at. Very simple structure, but a Flemish bond brick pattern and very wonderfully composed brick. It honestly, it doesn't look super historic. It looks fairly contemporary, meaning within the last a couple hundred years. But the other one is from probably the 50s or 40s or something, and you can tell which one is just aging better. I just want to show you a streetscape, a bunch of boxes next to boxes next to boxes next to boxes. This is in Salem, Massachusetts, and You can have 5 bay colonial after 5 bay colonial after 5 bay colonial, and all of the details are the things that give it the character and give it the visual interest in the end. And that is the main point, is there's nothing wrong, and you do not have to be afraid of a straight up box with a triangle on the top. In the end, they can be absolutely beautiful buildings. And as you are making progress on your design, the things to be aware of is make sure you have great details and you're using great materials. And those details should be happening at the openings and also the eaves. And that's all I want to say about that today. Don't be afraid of simplicity and make awesome details. So till next time, talk to you later.